This is Business Therapy, healing businesses from the inside out through communication and emotional intelligence. I'm Diane Hansen, management consultant, with me co-host Christine Salvo, therapist, certified mediator, and certified hypnotherapist.
Good morning, everybody. Hello.
Good morning, everybody. So today we are talking about when it's time to grow and not time to go. So, I've been blessed. I've been truly blessed. And every day I wake up and I write down what I'm grateful for. Every Sunday I write down what's on my calendar, and I know that more is going to drop in. And I've come into this part of my life and my career that's in good flow and in good abundance. But here's the issue: I can't take on any more. Not a single thing more. And I started out by getting some help around the house, getting some help with nutrition, worked to hire an assistant, but people you hire need to be trained and instructed, and I have zero bandwidth.
Right.
Thus, which decreases the effectiveness of the team that I'm trying to grow. Mm-hmm. So I find myself in this place of sheer overwhelm.
Right.
And I drink my own Kool-Aid. I know that, to stop overwhelm, you just look at the first thing that you've got to do. Just pick one thing and just work on that and complete that and celebrate that you worked on and work on the next. So I not only know that, I do that. I definitely do that to bust overwhelm, but it's this bigger picture. Mm-hmm. This bigger picture that I look at of I need to grow. I need to analyze my business to see what needs to come off my plate. And I don't feel I have the time to create the process or train the people to help.
Right. So for our listeners, I really want to kind of go back a couple steps. So first of all, if they don't know how to bust overwhelm, it sounds like you have a similar process to mine. My process is, first and foremost, I tell people what overwhelm is. And overwhelm is basically a cortisol flooding. It's also a procrastination technique. Some people don't know that. It's actually, procrastination has techniques to it.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Sometimes we use overwhelm subconsciously so that we don't have to do anything else. So that we can say, I'm overwhelmed, I throw my hands up, I shut down, and I bury my head in the sand for a while. Problem is that our problems don't go anywhere. They tend to stack and get bigger, more overwhelming, and the more we are overwhelmed, the more we procrastinate. So I really like to start with writing everything down. Just write anything in your head. I don't care if it's pick up the dog food to writing a business proposal. Write it all down and then chunk it down. So what do I need to do today? What do I need to do this hour? What can wait for the end of the week? And what do I have to complete this month? Because a lot of times in overwhelm, the cortisol flooding it's all coming in my head at one time. And it's almost like a big Coca-Cola can being shaken up where all that pressure is building. And then it has to go out that tiny little tube, right? It's just too much pressure has built up. So we break it. This hour, today, this week, the end of the month. We give everything timelines, and I make sure that it's manageable. From there, our stress should already be lowered. Because we have a time, we have a place, we have a how, we have a no, and we have a why. So for listeners, if you haven't done that, it's an awesome way. Diane's way is really good too. Pick one thing, complete it, celebrate it, pick the next thing. So whatever seems like it would resonate with you most, it just depends on what kind of spinning out your brain is doing. So if it's I'm overwhelmed because I have too much to do, write the list. If it's I'm overwhelmed because the task at hand is boring or tedious, which also creates procrastination, overwhelm, then we do the one task, we celebrate, and we move on. So getting that kind of out of the way, how do we know when we're busting at the seams? A lot of people, especially self-employed solopreneurs, will just start working more and more, trying to compensate. So how do you know when it's time to grow, Diane?
So I know it's time to grow for me when my balance is being thrown off. I get, and it's an actual feeling in my body. I literally, when my balance is threatened, I get snippy. I get angry. I feel impeded upon. And rather than going about my day and doing my work, if my day started at 7 a.m. and it's 7 p.m. and it's still going and people are still asking for things, I don't become incredibly pleasant at that point. So that's one, is that I've reached kind of this critical mass where that pleasantness about me starts to fade. Two, it's that list of things is not getting any smaller, and the opportunities keep flowing in. So I, again, blessed, absolutely blessed that I have several firms that I work with, including my own private clients. And I try to keep everyone moving along at a good pace where they're seeing value. And I'll give you an example. There is a firm that I'm working with that incubates small companies and turns them into sellable companies. And it's amazing consulting work. And today I got a call out of the blue. I was fortunately not in front of a client. And I told him, we're scheduled for this half day to sit down and really strategize because they're super team Diane. I said, the problem is a lot of people are team Diane right now. And a lot of people want me, just me, not my company. They want me. And so looking at that, I told him, I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to need to scale. You're going to have to be okay, not just working with me. You're going to have to be okay with working with one of my consultants. You're going to have to be okay with, scheduling things through my calendar versus talking to me to schedule things. There are some things that, so I try to, when I find myself, kind of setting those ground rules and not starting to tell people, you're not going to necessarily be dealing with me. I know I need to scale because I'm sort of setting the stage, so to speak, for it not being me. I'll also start pushing back on tasks. So if I do have someone who requires me, I will start pushing back on the stuff that I feel somebody else could be doing. And I'll start pushing back on those things rather hard.
Okay. So there's a couple things that I'm already noticing here, which is, first of all, when you're feeling stressed, you kind of go to the whole world like everyone else needs to put the brakes on. So like, this is what you're going to have to deal with. If you want me, these are the rules and conditions, which, some people might be okay with, and some people might be like, well, it seems like you're too busy. I'll find someone else. And that would be fine. And I know that you probably would be neutral about that. So I'm a little bit curious about efficiency. So this sounds silly, but I talk about efficiency just about every day, all day, because one of the main issues that I see in people's life is they're not being efficient. They're just not. I don't care whether it's chores distribution or how they're spending their weekends. Like I work with tons of people that are working 2 jobs right now to make ends meet. And then they're like, on Sundays, I clean all day. And I'm like, so you're actually never getting any rest. That's not an efficient lifestyle. We have to start condensing. So can we start meal prepping on Sundays so you're not cooking all week, so you can get a little rest, so you can get a little exercise, so you can do what you need to do? What do we need to do, and how can we orient time differently? So not that this is a solution to you, but for our listeners, if you're not being efficient, think about ways that you can clump and group people. So in Diane's situation, an idea could be, and she's probably thought of this, she's very intelligent, but having 10 people come in on a group call where she's talking about the same topic they all need. This is the time the call is. This is when you go. I'm knocking out 10 stones with one specific hour. So you're still getting me. You're not necessarily getting her individually, but it's not like she's going to say something particularly all that significant or different. And when she's talking to the companies by themselves, she can include those details. Like, do you remember that talk, what I said? This is what I was thinking specifically for your company. This is what I was thinking of specifically for your company. But in any topic, especially like, I know in therapy, I know business coaching and consulting is really similar. We don't always say unique things. We're kind of repetitive on what we say because we have to provide the foundation. If you don't have the foundational knowledge, you don't know anything. And instead of repeating this to everybody, we are creating these group platforms. We're even creating sometimes pre-recorded talks. Watch my talk. I'll talk to you after. See you in an hour. Sending them to a website, sending them to a YouTube channel. In agencies I used to work with, I highly suggested this with paperwork. We would have audio people that, let's say, were blind. Instead of me sitting there taking 20 minutes to read my client the paperwork, there's a video of me reading the paperwork once, and we could subtitle it if you're hearing impaired. We can just play it if you're visual impaired. And if you're just anybody, you can watch from the comfort of your home and know what to expect as far as ethics, confidentiality, and the laws regarding HIPAA and counseling.
So
it's
what
a
I'm
one-shot
hearing,
thing.
so what I'm really hearing you say is look at your duplicated tasks and
Yes.
see what you can automate.
Yes.
Look at those duplicated tasks and see what you're doing the same way, the same thing, and see what you can take off that plate. So it's a great argument for content in my case. Absolutely. It's also a great argument for using Alexa differently in the morning. Having Alexa start out, and I'm sure she's going to start talking to me right now, but having that set up, that we have so much beautiful technology that is due to us. If we have appointments, to set up maybe an automation to say you have an appointment scheduled, and that way if there's any cancellations, last minute cancellations, don't blow up the entire day. I know today I had 3 cancellations, which allowed me the time, and I was very grateful for the cancellation because another project, actually 2 projects dropped in that were urgent that I was going to have to spend I don't even know when working on, but the cancellations happened. But having a process to take those things that you duplicate and make it a one-to-many type connection or an automated connection.
Mm-hmm. So really focusing, efficiency is absolutely vital if you're feeling that you're overwhelmed, stretched too thin, and overworked. There are just foundational things that we can showcase to clients, to businesses, to whatever the case is. And it's in just about any business. I think personal trainers could do this. Just about any single business where you basically say the same thing to everyone. You can absolutely practice efficiency. And that way your time that they're in front of you is valuable to them and valuable to you. Now, I would prefer that as a customer. Hey, if you have a video I can watch before then I'm going to have questions ready. I'm going to know what's specific to me, what I actually need help with, instead of going through the whole spiel and then having to think about it and then coming up with questions next session. I'm already there. I'm prepared. You're prepared. The time is spent very well. We both feel really good about what happened. We schedule again. They may watch another video on the next topic and the same thing happens. And then we just follow up on each one. Okay, from week 1, what are you struggling with? What are the issues? Week 2, what are you struggling with? What are the issues? And keep going. And obviously that's where you keep it general, but individual as well.
Exactly. And I know that once I started even working within email templates, that was a huge efficiency saver when I was talking to potential new private clients, because I have a 15-minute call or 30-minute call that I do with them, in which time I do a mastery assessment. And the template email basically gives them the result of their mastery assessment, shows them the packages, and says, let me know. And what's beautiful about that is I don't chase, because the people who are really ready to go, they respond back immediately, they book, they take action. And those that were all kind of on the fence, I don't have to chase them, but that email is already written. I pop in their assessment results, and send the email, and away we go. And that has shortened the sales process for everyone. And it doesn't matter if this is a $10,000-$20,000 or more contract with a company that needs change on a process level, or this is a small business leader that's just trying to get their own stuff together. They get the same email, they get the same assessment, they get the same email.
Mm-hmm. So looking at that and reflecting on some efficiency, some ways you can group tasks, some ways that you can pre-record, some ways that you can use this until you find your staff. Because the idea is you don't actually want to stop the business from coming in. That's not a good business strategy.
Right.
You want to create the desire, but you also want to have a way to give the content, even though you can't do face-to-face, because you are one person. You're stretched very thin. But there's a reason they want to hire you, and it's because they want to hear what you have to say. So how much of this can you really honestly start pre-recording, having your assistant help you with, getting videos together, editing, chopping this, that, and that could even be intro. Hey, welcome to my business. I'm Diane. This is what I do. This is what you can expect. These are the different kinds of portfolios I have in packages, and here's how you're going to know which one's best for you. I'm going to send you over an email. I'm going to get it back. We can discuss results. Blah, blah. I mean, I'm not trying to solve the problem for you.
Mm-hmm.
I just love to get the creativity wheel spinning, because so often in overwhelm, the other thing that happens is we stop being creative. And that's the number one thing I tell people is I go, you're not actually stressed. You're very intelligent and know how to solve the problem. You just stopped being creative. You're looking at it one way. You're seeing stop signs everywhere you look, and you're not looking for yields. You're not doing U-turns. You're not pivoting. It's really actually because of the chemical process that's happening in your brain. When we're flooded, we don't think.
Yeah. And it's, I need definitely some time to look at that, because I don't do a lot of one-off coaching where I'm saying the same thing to everyone. I do a lot of very specific process documentation, very specific. So it's nothing that necessarily can be pre-recorded and all of you watch this. Education and educating people about things, quite possibly.
Yes.
And I have seen consulting firms do that. In fact, ones that I work with have very robust YouTube channels where they create content, and then when they're about to kick off a project, they give them a video saying, this is the type of project we're going to kick off. So rather than them going in blind to what they're doing, say you're documenting a process or whatever, there's a video about this is what to expect. So when we come and do the kickoff, they know what to expect. And I think that's really nice. It's just something to look at. I also have myself in a very strange situation in that my business is probably about 50% clients of my firm, 50% I am installed in their company. So I am installed in a couple of different consulting firms as their consultant, where appointments pop up on my calendar and I take them. And those are the same thing with, I'm also an installed coach with 2 other firms. So I'm an installed coach with 2 other firms, and when appointments pop up on my calendar, coaching pops up on my calendar, I take it. So there's very little process control there. Where I see opportunity for control and scaling is really on my firm's side, on what I do have more control over. And I think that what happened with that too is that when COVID hit, I decided none of my eggs were going to be in one basket. And maybe many of our listeners are sitting in the same place right now where they're like, gosh, no, I don't want any of my eggs in one basket too. I just lost my job. I want this source of income and that source of income, and not have to rely on one. the issue comes is it's almost like it's almost like that old In Living Color sketch. There was this old In Living Color sketch with a bunch of Jamaicans, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, Jamaica man, I have 5 jobs. Oh, you lazy. I have 10 jobs. I have 10 jobs. I'm pretty sure I have 10 jobs."
Yeah.
And that the working on the business side of the business and the working within, I can scale to start to, take myself out of that. But then I literally have these installed these positions that have less process control. So I think that's really the core of it, is I can scale 50% of it, but this other 50%, it may come down to a decision with those.
Yeah.
It may, and that's
So
what it is.
one of the things that I do, because I run, it's all under the same business name, but I basically have 3 businesses. So I have my private practice therapy, I have my private practice hypnotherapy, and then I have my mediation. And picking those on different days, that's one of the things that I did. I have block time. I don't do any of them on the same days. So I have a specific day for this, I have specific days for that, and a specific day for that. And in my mind, that's the way I can keep it organized. So if I don't have a client, great, I'm off early. If I do, great, I work. And so just really thinking about, if I have these different branches, because I do the same thing. I don't have one egg. I don't have anything like that. I agree. That works for me. It works for me in a different way. I like the financial diversity, but I actually really need diversity in my work. I have to. Even if it's just doing one thing every day, I don't care if it's mediation. If I don't have any diversity, it's not going to work for me. I want one day to be my hypnosis day, and I prepare for that. And I want my 4 days to be my private practice day, and I prepare for that. And then I want my mediation day too, and I prepare for that. And when I'm really looking at things, I'm blocking this. Block. So there's some element of separation.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to a bit of control. I know that I can do that with, I could absolutely, through the 2 coaching ones that I do, I could block it out and have Thursdays be the day people can schedule me for coaching. And that's it. I could do that. However, that does not stop my other client from also scheduling me on Thursday, thus limiting the amount of coaching I can do. So
that's a you thing, not a them thing.
Right, exactly. So and if I block out my calendar, like I'm not available, it also blocks off the ability for people to schedule me for coaching. So I think it's pretty complex.
It could be a scheduling. You could actually use different scheduling platforms.
Yeah, I do. I use Acuity, and I use Calendly.
Okay.
And Google Calendar.
So again, for our listeners, if you are running 3 businesses where people can book their own schedule, so I book all my own. So I know what days I do what, and I just tell people this is the day I do this, and I'll do it either in the morning or in the evening or whatever works for you, but that's the only day I do that week. And this is the only way I do this week. But the idea of, okay, so if it's a consulting client, then you're giving them the ability to schedule on this website. If it's a coaching client, you're giving them the ability to schedule through this website. But they're not on the same site, so they don't see the same thing. They don't have the same days. They can't overbook or overschedule on each other. And again, I'm really bringing this back to how can we fine tune and become more efficient? Yeah. Because everybody can tighten it up. I don't care who you are. I've worked with some brilliant minds. And I'm going like, okay, if you're having to read a 150-page document 3 times a week because you're an attorney, and this is the part that you do legal law, you're not in front of people, but you're reading, do we have a program that can read out loud to you? So you can read while you wash the dishes, and you're listening for the specific parts of the documents that are important to you, but not all 150 pages, every sentence is important to you. So how are we streamlining this process? So we can buy programs that read stuff to us. We can speed up the pace so it can read it at 3 times the normal pace that you could actually read it. And then now we're creating some efficiency here. We're taking some of the tedious out of our jobs. We all have tedious parts of our jobs. Are we using talk to type, or do we have a talk to type program? If a lot of your job uses that, you get tired of typing, maybe your shoulders, maybe you get fatigue, maybe you just get bored. We talk a lot faster than we type, even if you're a really fast typer. So are we using that for efficiency? How can we streamline things? How can we actually use technology to our advantage? And there's always ways we can tighten it up. We all can do a little bit better to have that free time, to achieve that balance, and to really accomplish a little bit more. So you may not be able to do the group talks, Diane, but maybe you could. Maybe that's something you could really start entertaining, is maybe I'm individualizing almost too much, and that only 3 hours of my time need to spend individual, and maybe I can really kind of make a bigger picture. I mean, I don't know. Just
maybe the way I work with a specific client is through group. So for example, if this consulting firm that incubates small companies wants to work with me and they want me to work with their clients, I work with their clients, but only in a group setting. Mm-hmm. And if their clients want to work in a private setting, that's when it becomes, a different conversation completely. That becomes, okay, well, now that I work with them in a group setting, now I know that I've had the run-up time to hire consultants who can work with my firm, to work with them privately if need be. But in the meantime, I've worked with them on a group basis, and that way they are not hampered. I am not a roadblock for them, and I'm still working with, a bulk of those clients through that firm. And since it's early on in the negotiation process for that particular firm, those things can be communicated in advance.
Yeah. But it's kind of like working smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And of course you need to scale, but you also need to be more efficient before you scale.
Right. Exactly. Physician, heal thyself.
Yeah. You're really going to have to tighten up that. You're going to have to kind of work through the overwhelm of, I must not be being creative. Maybe I'm not feeling stimulated because that's part of procrastination. Maybe I am feeling tedious or like it's too task oriented. And then how can I do this a little bit differently? And this isn't just for your situation. This is for our reader or listeners of, and then using the resources out there. After eye surgery, I actually had to rely on talk to text. And it's not wonderful. I don't love it. It makes plenty of errors. But I can tell you, I was shocked by how much more I could get done because it was so much more efficient than what I was doing.
Wow.
And now I'm like, I can't go back. I don't love it, but I can't dispute the efficiency. So yes, it makes a lot of mistakes, and it'll take me 10 seconds to put a period there, a comma there, a capital there, and a spell check there. But it probably would have taken me 10 minutes to do the note when it takes me about 2.5 now with error correction, because I talk faster than I type. And I'm a pretty quick typer. So really, even if it happens by accident, and I know that, for those of you listening, if you've had surgeries or for some reason something took you out of the game, that typically is what makes us more resourceful, because we can't just stop. I can't just be out of the game. So what do I do? Right?
Gotta keep moving.
And it's enlightening because it forces you to try new things and search new apps and be like, okay, what's available for free? What's not? What's a good program? What do people recommend? All these things. And all of a sudden you're like, you stumble into something. And that was that person I was talking about with the 150 pages they have to read like 3 times a week of tedious material. Right. And I'm like, find a program that reads for you. They have them. They exist. Put it on 2 times. We live in a great time.
We live in a great time with technology.
Sit back with your notepad. Go like, okay, I needed that information. Write it down. Let it go. Do your dishes while you're doing it. Not necessarily multitask, but some things don't require our full attention and some things do. And being able to kind of really look at that. So when we're in overwhelm, when we think it's time to scale, when we're getting those growing pains, I would say stop, write those lists, start doing stuff, look for holes in what you're doing. Find your efficiency. Find where you're lacking efficiency. Use your resources like Diane said. Hire someone to clean the house. Take that off your plate. Hire someone to prep and handle meals. Use all of these things well so that you're not likely to get into the overwhelm procrastination loop.
Great advice. This has been Business Therapy, healing businesses from the inside out through communication and emotional intelligence. I'm Diane Dye Hansen, management consultant.
And I'm Christine Salvo, licensed marriage and family therapist, certified mediator, and certified hypnotherapist. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.